Okay, so we were told to model this after like Oprah Winfrey's master classes. There's no couch, so you don't need to be jumping on one.
Okay,
and
great.
I'm not going to go, and you, and you, and you. So it'll be, I wish.
Dun, dun, dun.
Oh yeah, there's cookies. Maybe I'll give away a cookie at the end. So basically it's going to be an interview. I'm going to interview and then we're going to have a question period and you guys can ask him everything you want to know except for his address, which I think was already asked earlier.
Yep.
Didn't someone say that earlier? No?
Yep, little creepy.
Okay, so as we all know, Montreal has a surprising number of artists, and he is one of them. Montreal-born professional actor, writer, slam poet, MC. You saw him on TV, in film, on the stage. You can even hear him on the radio with his very own podcast. Multi-talented, my friends, that is what we say in our business. And to tell us more about the path that has led him to his stage, to this little stage today, a hand of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for Omari. Hi.
That was the best intro ever.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, I wish you would come with me to auditions and just do that before I go in.
I can. We can do a little recording.
That'd be great. Yeah, please. That'd be great.
So you've been at this since 2001, if I'm not mistaken, or a tad before?
My first professional TV job was 2001.
Okay.
But I did drama in high school.
Okay.
And I got my first agent. I was doing a high school version of Much Ado About Nothing. And an agent was in the audience. I was playing Benedict. And after the show, it was a matinee actually, and there wasn't that many people there. And one of the people there was an agent. They came up to me and said, "Have you ever thought about doing this for a living?" And at the time, I really hadn't. And that's how I got my career started.
Did you know that there was an agent in the room?
No, which is a good lesson for all you guys to keep note of. I swear to you, there was like 3 people in the audience, and one of them was an agent. So you can never really phone in a performance because you don't know who's watching.
Wow. 13 years later, let's say,
Yeah.
after your first TV, as you say, my first professional TV gig.
Yeah.
Do you remember what really fueled that desire from that agent coming up to you? Because a lot of people could be like, "Hey, you could be a model. Hey, you could be."
Yeah.
What?
The model thing never happened.
No.
No one ever. No, I wish, but no, that never.
Okay. Well, actor's good enough.
Yeah, I just well, I knew I loved acting and I knew I loved performing, so I was just really flattered that anybody even thought it was possible that you could earn money to do something you enjoyed doing. So I figured I had nothing to lose, and I was just like, yeah, sure. I just got some headshots done, and she started sending me out to auditions, and it was just really kind of random that it became a career.
It's not an easy career to have, and
No.
anybody in the business, including radio, can say that you have to have really tough skin to be able to endure
Sure.
it.
Yeah.
I'm the first person to always praise higher education because I have 2 bachelors and a master's, and if ever
Nice.
radio doesn't work, I have something to fall back on.
Sure, yeah.
But you're one of those people too.
Yeah. Well, I first did a DEC at John Abbott College in liberal arts, and then I did a BA in communication studies at Concordia, because I had the same theory where I was like, in the highly likely event that acting doesn't work out, I don't want to have nothing to fall back on, where just you wake up one day, and even if you had a decent career, if you wake up one day and you're 40 or you're 50 and the auditions stop coming, you don't want to be like, well, I can work at Starbucks,
Yeah.
So at least with a degree, you're qualified to go and do other things.
And did you still do auditions throughout your degrees? Was there a
Yeah.
time where you had to defer your degree to be able to continue in acting?
It took me forever to finish my degree at Concordia, because when I was 19, I was cast as a lead in Black Theatre Workshop season. I don't know if you guys know Black Theatre Workshop.
Wow.
Yeah, Black Theatre Workshop. Oh, you've never heard of them? Okay, that's great. Well, if you did know them, it's a great company. They put on shows by basically Black Canadian writers and have Black Canadian actors in it, and they cast me as their lead in their season. So I was supposed to go to Concordia in communications, then I deferred for a year. Then I got accepted. Then I got a role in a TV series, so I deferred again. It took me basically 5 years to finish.
But you finished.
But I did finish, yeah.
Most recently, people might know you from Continuum, which is a big hit on Showcase, a big hit. In Canada, you have Sophie, which was on CBC as well as ABC, and I watched it. I liked it.
I was going to say, that's not so big of a hit. But
I liked it.
it was a fun show to work on, though.
It was a fun show. I thought, well, it's a girly, fun show. Let's start by how does it feel to go from high school drama to actor?
Yeah.
But then let's talk about the whole, you were lucky to have an agent in the room.
Yeah.
if someone is not that lucky, are you still with that agent? And how did you get another agent?
I am not still with that agent. I was lucky in that as a black actor, there's not that many other black actors. It's weird. You would think in Canada it's a diverse place, but there's not that many actors of color. So I would do shows, and I would have agents all the time come up to me and be like, "Are you interested in
wow.
having an agent?" So I did stay with the same agency for quite a while, but I ended up having a better opportunity to go to a bigger agency that would present more opportunities. So I switched over to them eventually.
But for someone who might not have the agent in the room occasion.
Yeah, what?
How would you, is it difficult to find an agent? How would you tell them how to pick, how
Sure.
to?
Yeah, well, first of all, anyone here interested in being a professional actor? Just none of you, eh?
Well, were you at first?
Um,
Until that agent approached you?
No, I was just interested in acting because it was fun. Anyone,
Well, there you go.
anyone interested in acting because it's fun? Okay, cool. So if you ever decide that this is fun and maybe I might want to take money for doing it, the way you would go about it, I'll phrase it differently. The way you would go about that is basically if you know you have a show coming up. Like, are you guys doing a show this year at Riverdale? You already did it? Yeah. Well,
Another one, right?
cool. Well, if you have another one coming up, what you can do is just call up local agencies. If you go to the Actro website, which is, I think it's www.actro.ca, they have different cities listed like Montreal, Toronto, whatever. And if you go to Montreal, they'll have an industry tools links where they'll give you all the agents in town. And you can just call them up and say, hey, this is me, I'm so-and-so years old, maybe send a headshot, come check out this show at my high school. And you'd be amazed at how many agents will go and see local productions. And if they like what they see, they might give you a shot.
That's so cool. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
We talked about the fact that you started in drama, you went to TV, slam poet, podcasts, you touch almost every single medium of the arts industry. Which one's your favorite?
I really love working on TV. I know that technically you're supposed to say, everyone goes, oh, theater, my heart's in theater, which I love theater. Theater is awesome. But I wanted to be an actor mainly because I liked watching movies and TV shows. So to me, every day I go to work on TV, it's like a dream come true. Like I don't know how people have a job working on TV and think it's normal. Like my dad's an accountant and my mom is a social worker, and like that's how they pay their bills. And I dress up in costumes and put makeup on and play make-believe for a living.
Oh yeah.
But literally, that's, if you think about it, that's what you're doing as an actor. You're playing dress up, which is what kids do, except people then pay me.
Isn't that exciting?
It's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's always surreal and it's always bizarre when you go to your trailer and your name is on it. Like I have a trailer. Like that trips me out. Like there's a chair, if you get a part in a TV show, there'll be a chair with your name on it that no one else is allowed sitting on, but people do all the time, but they're not supposed to. And that's really weird that someone breaks
Actually have a chair.
your name on a chair.
Oh yeah. The first time I had a poster, I was like, oh my God.
It's bizarre, right?
It's my face.
I know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you, the fact that you went to touch every single other medium, is that still another little backup, kind of like getting the degree in university? Or is
Yeah.
it because you're curious about all the other mediums and you kind of like to try the arts?
It's a mix of both, but it really came out of desperation and utter failure. Truly, like I couldn't get a gig. Like I moved from Montreal to Vancouver because I was doing okay
We'll get back
here.
to that after.
Yeah, but when I was in Montreal, I was doing a bit of theater and stuff, and it was good. But I really wanted to do TV, so I moved out to Vancouver, and nobody had ever heard of me, and nobody they didn't know what plays I was doing in Montreal. So I was working the graveyard shift at my gym, which is very awkward, by the way, because it wasn't the graveyard shift at a gym. I worked the graveyard shift at my gym. So like in the morning, there was this really awkward period where I was like handing out towels to people who I would later be working out with. It's a whole weird thing, yeah. But in my desperate attempt to try to get a gig, I was like, maybe I'll try writing a play. And then I was like, well, maybe I'll try hosting, which is how podcasting started. It was just out of desperation and hopes that something would pick up.
But now you're a multi-talented, multifaceted artist.
I mean, I think so, but I'm totally biased, right?
And your sister would be too. So let's speak about living in the city of Vancouver.
Yeah.
Did you choose Vancouver because you think, because when I think TV or when I think big radio, or I would think Toronto.
Yeah.
Is Vancouver a place to be for the arts? You're currently a funded artist in residence with Urban Inc. Production. So
Yeah.
I want to know what that means. But
Sure,
first,
yeah.
is Vancouver an easier city with the arts, or?
Vancouver is the second largest city in terms of film production in the world,
Oh,
I believe. It
Wow.
goes Los Angeles, of course,
yeah.
and then Vancouver, and then I think it's New York and then Toronto.
Okay.
Like Toronto is very busy as well, but Vancouver has the nickname Hollywood North because so much stuff films up there. And it's
I
actually,
had no idea.
it's slowed down and it's still pretty crazy. Like a lot of shows, I don't know if you guys know the show Smallville.
Yep.
You know the show Supernatural,
Yeah.
X-Files, it's a little bit further back, Continuum. There's also Stargate Atlantis, Stargate, Battlestar Galactica. Like, it's astounding the number of shows that film in Vancouver, which is why very often if you watch a sci-fi show, you'll recognize the same actors from a number of shows. And everyone's like, oh, wow, sci-fi must love them. It's not so much that, it's more...
They're in Vancouver.
It shoots in the same city, and there's only so many actors that can audition for every show.
Oh, that's so cool. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
So you would suggest people to move on their own to try to start a career, or would you think like finding an agent before moving to Vancouver, or
Honestly, there's really no roadmap.
no right way?
Like
That's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah, there's really no right way. Like when I was in Montreal, I couldn't catch a cold on a TV set. Like nobody would hire me. And then I moved to Vancouver and booked two series that shot in Montreal.
Ah.
Like I don't know, there's a show called Blue Mountain State that shot at John Abbott College.
Yeah.
Show's so
And-
cool.
Have you actually heard of this one?
I watched
Nice. I played Larry on Blue Mountain State. So
it. Really?
yeah, that'd be a pretty silly lie to say in front of a whole room of people. You could Google it and you'd be like, he's lying. But the irony is, I moved to Vancouver, sent an audition tape for this TV series, Blue Mountain State, that was shooting in my hometown. And then I had a callback in my hometown, so I had to fly back home for the callback. And then I booked my first regular role in a TV series in Montreal from Vancouver.
That's hilarious.
And it happens all the time. Like
I'm not surprised.
you'll hear actors all the time being like, I moved to Toronto and then I booked a gig in Vancouver, which is my hometown. So
You kind of have to sometimes get out of the bubble to be able to see it in perspective.
yeah, totally.
Some of your career highlights have been in Montreal, Centaur Theatre. You
Yeah.
did, it's called Blue Orange.
Yeah.
I was going to say Orange Blue. Blue Orange. And you're also, a play that was also Best English Language Production here in Montreal. Some people associate awards with highlights.
Right.
When I think back of my career, it's not the awards that are the highlights. So I
No.
kind of want to hear in your mind what the highlights are.
I'll say it as politely as I can, but most awards are politically driven. Like I wouldn't put too much stock in awards. Even if you look at like the Oscars, it's like Leonardo DiCaprio has never won an Oscar. Martin Scorsese won his first Oscar, I think it was like a couple years ago. Like, I don't know, awards are great because it's obviously it's nice when someone goes, you're awesome, here's a statue. Like, it feels really good, but it doesn't mean as much as, to me, doing a performance or role that people remember years later, or maybe somebody's moved by it, or like that to me is more of a highlight.
And can you pinpoint one? Do you remember one little?
Yeah. Well, it sounds silly because Blue Mountain State is a broad kind of slapstick comedy and it's not considered like high art. But I remember I was eating sushi with a friend when I got a call and I found out that our series got picked up. And I don't know how much you guys know about how TV shows get made, but what happens first is they go, you shoot a pilot. And what a pilot is just, it's the first episode of the series that you show to networks to basically go, if we do a show, all the other episodes will look like this. So we shot the pilot first. We shot it at the Olympic Stadium, which for a guy from Montreal was a trip. Like I was standing, on the mound where I used to watch the Expos pitch. It was crazy. So we shot the pilot, and then a couple of months later, the networks watched the pilot and decided they liked it, and they wanted to pick up the series. And then I got a call from my agent saying, we're doing 13 episodes. So that was a huge career highlight because, every actor's dream is to get a regular gig, and you go from basically being broke to being able to pay your rent for a bit.
Well, the fact that you remember that you were eating sushi that day.
Yeah, I was eating sushi and I remember who I was with. I was with my best friend and his girlfriend. I just got back from the gym and was just, I think, thinking about handing out applications for like Starbucks.
Oh, there you go. I remember eating a celery.
When you
when
got
I
your
got
first
my
radio
first
gig?
call. Yeah.
Really?
Yep. I was eating a celery and my mouth was full, and I was like, I can't believe I'm talking with my mouth full when there's the GM of a radio company talking to me on the other side of the phone.
That's awesome.
But yeah, no, it was really cool. Okay, so Akila, your twin sister, is the founder of Overture with the Arts.
Yeah.
So obviously the arts is something important in your family. You were saying your dad and your mom not in any arts type of career.
No.
So how did it come? How did it bubble in the family? Is it just a coincidence?
It's actually pretty random. How did we end up with two artists in the family?
I don't know.
It like, our parents definitely aren't artists, but they used to take us.
Yeah, we did dance classes. We were like when in high school, he was always acting the plays. I was behind the scenes doing makeup,
Yeah.
and then
Just
And they
stayed
would-
the same?
interest, yeah.
And they would take us to Place des Arts to see like the Nutcracker and Dreamgirls, and like they always made a point of like showing us the arts. And what's cool about my parents is they basically said, just get a degree in anything, and then we'll leave you alone. They never said, you know,
Same
you got to be
here.
a doctor. They were like,
Yeah.
just get a degree in something, and then once you have your degree, do whatever you want.
Yeah.
So they were really open
Smart
to
advice.
us. Yeah, it was great advice.
Yeah.
And the irony is, when I wanted to drop out of school, and when I was like 19, I was like, oh, I want to move to LA. I'm going to be famous. Because when you want to be an actor, you always think you're going to be famous at first, which it's possible. It's just not highly likely. But my mom was the one who was like, no, do not drop out of school. Get your degree. And then I got my degree, and a couple years later, I was in Vancouver, and I wasn't booking gigs. And I was like, you know what, Mom? I think I'm going to give up acting. I want to come back, and maybe I'll do something. She's like, no, don't give up acting. So
It's funny how parents are, because I
Yeah.
got, like I said earlier, 2 bachelors and a master's. And when I finally announced to my parents that radio was what I was going to do, and I had gotten a gig, and I was going to quit teaching. I was a teacher for the deaf then, which is a bit
Wow.
ironic. My dad said, oh, I always saw you doing something like broadcasting. And I'm like, really? You couldn't have told me that
yeah,
like
right. 3 degrees ago.
earlier?
Yeah.
But I'm extremely happy to have them, because you never know. It's
Yeah.
such a, like, the reason why people move so much in radio is that you can get fired like this, and
I
it's
know.
the same
Oh, yeah.
in acting.
Oh, and acting, they like sometimes they'll just kill your character to
Yeah.
advance the story, and you don't find out until the read through. Like you show up to work and you're just all like having a great day, and then you go through your script and you're like, oh, Omari's character dies. Oh, I'm unemployed.
Yeah, same in radio. You walk in one morning and you find out that
Sure.
it's not your last show, because your
Yeah.
last show was yesterday, because today you're picking up your stuff.
Totally.
Yeah, it's a hard business to be in.
Well, have you seen Game of Thrones?
No.
Oh, who here has seen Game of Thrones? So no, I won't give any spoilers to those who haven't seen it, but all I'll say is Red Wedding. That's all you need to know about the stability of an acting career. Like, yeah, that's all I'll say. Those who've seen it know what I'm talking about.
Now I
but
want to see it.
It's pretty amazing. Yeah.
Okay, just to come back on your parents.
Yeah.
And you were saying that they did bring you to see, you know, the Nutcracker and stuff. Theater is not theater, ballet, opera. It's not the cheapest. Even movies.
yeah.
It's going to cost you $13 to go see a movie these days, when it
Yeah.
was, you know, $4 in my day. So the fact that your sister started a charity that actually brings the arts to the youth is something in my eyes that's extremely important and validated. But do you think that the youth is where we have, you know, there's so many school boards that cut the arts,
Yeah.
and math is more important, and this is more important. Like, what would you say when you want, like, art is important? Like, how would you
Yeah.
validate the arts? There you
I'm
go. That's
so
my
glad.
question.
I'm so glad you asked that, because I remember. Anyone here like not a math person? Anyone here just like an arts person? Right. I figured it's drama class here, right? I remember when I was in high school, I'd have a lot of teachers being like, you know, you want to focus on math and science, like you want to focus on that. You don't want to close any doors. But I knew when I was in like grade 8 that I was not going to be working for NASA. Like I just wasn't like, it wasn't my thing, right? And it actually, doing the arts and doing like English and doing drama and music really helped boost my confidence, because I was so bad at math that I was like, am I stupid? Like, why don't I get this, right? And of course, I ended up having a career as an artist. So to me, I just think different people have brains that work in different ways. And if you're motivated and inspired by literature or inspired by arts, you can totally make a living doing it. Like, you don't have to be famous, but there's a huge gap between Tom Cruise and a working actor who, you know, feeds his kids and pays his rent just being an actor. So yeah, I think the arts are very important, because some people, that's the only option they have. That's the way their mind works.
And coming back to school, if we are going to concentrate on one subject that you should have, especially these days with autocorrect and everything, English
Yeah.
is probably one of the most important subjects, because you're the perfect example of someone who probably writes his podcast, and you're writing right now an original play.
I did,
and so it's probably something that you need to have in the business.
Yeah, well, I mean, I just think with social media, your generation is writing more than mine, ironically. Back when I was in high school, we didn't have Facebook, we didn't have Twitter. Like, people, it was weird. If you
We
wanted
wrote
to,
letters.
You would totally, like, you would leave notes in someone's locker, or people would just call you on your house phone, and it was super awkward because if you wanted to ask a girl out, you had to call their actual physical house, because not everyone had a cell phone, and ask their parents to speak to them, and it was like a much more personal thing.
Who's that, honey?
Yeah, it was the worst. And then, like, you're on the one phone in the house that everyone can have access to, so their parents can pick up at any point. Anyway, that's a whole thing. How did we get? Oh, writing, right. but yeah, I mean, I'm sure you guys are all on Facebook and Twitter and all these. No? No, really? Who's not? Raise your hand if you're on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and.
They're all.
Right. Like, for one, it's good to be able to communicate effectively, just so you don't look less intelligent.
But with all the autocorrect and all the acronyms that people use these days, do you think it's important to try to detach themselves from that so that they have the proper?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I know that when I'm in position to hire someone to do, whether it's social media for me or to write something for me, if they send me an email that's riddled with grammar mistakes and spelling errors, right away I'm like bottom of the pile, right? Because you're just like, I can't hire this person. So it's important. It's just not a good look to not be able to write.
It is the first impression now. It's funny because in the past, first impression was what you looked like, whereas now first impression is how you write.
Totally.
Because that's the world that we're now in. You touched upon it, but I want you to speak of the importance of social media in your business, especially, and having personal websites.
It's social media is hugely important, and it's a message that especially I want to give to you guys. It's not so much about like how many followers you have, but the persona or the message you send out on social media is equally important. Like, I think a lot of people are going to regret some of the twerking videos they filmed in about 10 years from now. Like, you really don't want to have material out there that might come back to haunt you, or even if you're like spouting off hate speak or whatever in social media. Producers look at that stuff. I know people who've gotten fired from jobs, like from TV shows, because of things they've said on Twitter. So you'd be amazed at how many people read that. So just,
and even if you delete a post,
it's still
there.
Yeah, someone takes a screen cap, and that's you know.
Because I remember I was 25 at the point at this age, 28. So I wasn't even. It's not like I was a young person or. Well, I was still young, but and I had just started working in radio, and I was asked to go cover the Irish ships that came to Montreal, and I interviewed the Irish ambassador to Canada, and then was invited to the big Irish party on the ship afterwards. Let me tell you, Irish Navy people know how to drink.
Yeah,
and I got pretty wasted. But there's a lot of good pictures of me with the Navy hats, and they're good. I think they're good pictures. In the day, thought they were good pictures and put them on Facebook. And today, I look at them and I'm like, why did I put that on Facebook? They're funny.
Right.
They're still funny.
Right.
But at 35, totally not the pictures that I want.
Not the persona that you want, yeah.
When I try to get hired somewhere, like I look at those pictures and I'm like, oh man. So now I changed a little description. Like, I've deleted a couple, but the other ones I changed the description, going like, oh, how foolish I was back in the day. And I changed the title to show that it's not me anymore. But like, especially you guys starting so young on social media, you have to think that that's going to be following you for the next 50 years. Like, it's going to be there till, like, your kids will be able to Google you and find pictures of you. How scary is that? Like,
listen, I had an audition for a children's cartoon, and I'm talking like ages 5 to 6. And I heard the guys in the booth laughing, and I was wondering what they were laughing at. I thought it was just what I was doing in the booth. And then somebody was like, we just watched on YouTube an episode of Blue Mountain State you were on. And I won't say what I was doing on that episode, but let's just say I didn't get the job on the children's TV show.
I can imagine. Well, in radio, the scary thing is when I first started, and I said this in the radio class that we offer, my bosses told me to change my name. Because in those days, you still had phone books. And
Wow.
for a girl in the business, you get creep calls. You get people that, especially on the radio, they think that they know you. On a TV show, you're playing a character, so people think they know the character.
I have
Whereas-
creeps. I get creeps in social media.
Yeah. And in radio, people listen to you every day and they feel like they know you and that
Right.
you're their friend. And then they add you on Facebook and then you're even more their friend because you add them on Facebook and you can't say no because your bosses tell you you have to be friends with all your listeners.
Yeah.
And I refuse to change my name. And I don't regret it, but I now with social media have to be extra cautious because you have people that it's scary what they can find about you. Like I have people
Yeah.
that send me notes with pictures, like they'll Google you and they find a picture that dates like 10 years where you're drunk with a Navy hat and they're like, ooh, and then they can,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say blackmail, but it's kind of scary sometimes what can happen with it.
Especially for women, it's.
Yeah.
I think I've. It hasn't been as bad for me, but I have some of my co-stars on Continuum. One of my friends was walking out of a coffee shop, and a fan tweeted a picture of her location, being like, "I just saw you at so and like literally like on the corner of so and so and so and so," which is like, as a woman, you don't want people knowing the exact street corner you're on, especially if you're on TV.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, so you have to be extra cautious. And I wanted to bring that up just because I didn't want to sound like an old grandma, but it is a reality
Yeah.
of the business. So
Totally.
if it's something that you guys think about doing, and even more if you think of becoming a doctor or somebody serious, that's even like it could be funny that I have a picture of me with the Navy people. But if I were a doctor, it might
Maybe not so
not
much.
be as funny.
Yeah.
Speaking of funny, you have quite a couple funny nicknames. Where does O-Dog come from?
O-Dog comes from, you guys won't know this. Anyone here ever heard of the movie Menace to Society?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, all right. I don't trust a word
I know,
that
we
guy
have
says.
Half an hour showing.
Oh, okay, he actually has seen it. Okay. So Menace to Society was this film, kind of like Boys in the Hood back in the day, where the lead character, O-Dog, was this like gun-toting gangster. And because I'm so the opposite of that, my friends thought it was hilarious to nickname me O-Dog as a
Okay.
joke. So
And I saw an interview where it says Omari Newton will explain the zipper incident.
oh man.
What is the zipper
Not
incident?
here, I won't.
That's what I was hoping the answer would be.
The answer's out there, but not here. I will not explain the zipper incident.
That's funny. Okay, well, if you have one last message that you can tell as a little closing to our students here, like what still fuels you? It is a hard business to be in, but
Yeah.
why are you still in it? Like, why do you still want to continue despite knowing that you might not be able to pay rent tomorrow or you might,
All right, I'm gonna be totally blunt. It's really fun, and it can pay you lots of money for playing make-believe. Like that's, to be totally honest with you, it's like, if the alternative to me is being an accountant like my dad, or literally putting on costumes and pretending I'm a spaceman time traveler, and then somebody wants to pay me, I would rather play make-believe for a living than be in an office. So, and you can make good money. It's a good business for that.
and the day that it ends, you will have no regrets?
No, I mean, I don't think it'll ever really end. Like that's the thing about being an actor that I've
That's
never.
the way to think.
Because people go, if people quit acting because they're like, well, I'm not getting enough work, so I'm going to do something else. Well, if you're not getting enough work, then you've got tons of free time to do something else. There's no reason to quit. You can do a master's degree while you're not auditioning or not working. Unless your
You
agent.
can do a podcast and write a screenplay.
Yeah.
And yeah.
You can do tons of stuff to fill the time between when you're not working. So I don't think I'll ever quit outright.
Well, I am looking forward to seeing more and more of your work. Your play that you are writing right
Yeah.
now, is it finished? Soon to be finished?
It is. We debuted in Montreal in October.
Okay.
And we're debuting in Vancouver in 2 weeks.
That's exciting.
yeah.
So good luck with that.
Thank you.
And hopefully we'll have another masterclass soon where you'll be able to tell us a little more.
Awesome. Thank you for interviewing me. It's really nice of you.